So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone from all over the world joining us today. My name is Ridwan Mullah, and I yet again have the wonderful pleasure of talking to a legend himself, John Barnes. This amazing opportunity.
I would say good evening
brought
where
you
I
by
don't know where other people are, so good evening from me.
The amazing opportunity tonight is brought to you by ThinkMarkets, your trading teammate, the official global trading partner of Liverpool Football Club. John, welcome, and thank you for joining ThinkMarkets today.
It's a pleasure.
So John, just before we get started, I'm going to be most probably having the smile on my face the whole interview. So because I'm nervous as hell, I won't lie. And this is just like the most amazing thing. As a Liverpool fan, this is the most amazing thing. But for those of you who do not, sorry?
You say that about everyone.
I wish. For those of you tonight, if you do not know John Barnes, then I don't know where you've been living. But John Barnes, one of the best midfielders, left-wing players ever. He scored more than 100 goals during his career. In 2005, he was inducted into the English Football Hall of Fame. He's still regarded as one of the best players ever for Liverpool. And Jamie Carragher actually said the following about you, John Barnes. He said, you speak with the players from those great Liverpool sides and ask them who the best player they played with was, and they all say John Barnes. Now, John, we recently did an interview with Steve McManaman, and even he said you were one of the best players he had ever played with. So my question to you is, who do you think was the best soccer player you have ever played with?
Well, once again, what you learn at Liverpool is the team that's important, not the individual players. And there are lots of great individual players, and that's what we like as fans, to talk about the great individual players. But there are too many to mention. You've got Ian Rush, you got Jan Molby, you got Alan Hansen was very influential. But I just talk about goal scorers, because football, everybody loves to score goals. So if you talk about goal scorers, who's the best goal scorer? Now, what I say about that is you've got Ian Rush, Robbie Fowler. I played with Gary Lineker for England. Lots of goal scorers, John Aldridge. But what I say is that who is the best if they all score 30 goals a season? What I say is that the best is the ones who, as well as scoring 30 goals, what else do they do for the team? And the work rate, and you look at Liverpool's front three now in terms of how hard they work, the work rate that Ian Rush puts in, as well as scoring goals, closing defenders down, working hard to tackle the fullbacks, the centre-backs, the midfield players, for me, puts him above everybody else. Alan Hansen is probably the most influential player I've played with at Liverpool, but the best striker I played with is Ian Rush.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine just having to play with him must have been the most amazing thing. I mean, the guy had pace, skill.
It's not about their goal scoring. It's about what else they do for the team. If they're not scoring goals, what are they doing for the team? And they're working hard. And that's what you learn at Liverpool. It's about the team, which is what we have now with Jurgen Klopp. So Mo Salah may not play, but we still have other players to score. And Mo Salah off the ball has to work hard for the team. And that's what we do.
That's actually a good point. I mean, you look at the team in general, right around. I mean, you've got your goal scorers, you've got your defenders, you've got your midfielders. So yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and it is definitely an entire team performance.
Absolutely.
You can take an individual out, and you'll always still have a good team because it's the whole team working together. Very well said. Tell me something. When you started playing for Liverpool, you had Sir Kenny Dalglish as a manager. What is that like? I mean, what type of a manager was he? I mean, we all know him as a player and that type of thing, but as a manager, what is it like for you?
What I've said from I went to Liverpool is that I felt I played under Bill Shankly. Because, what Bill Shankly implemented in Liverpool, when he retired, Bob Paisley took over, Joe Fagan took over, then Kenny Dalglish took over, and they did the same thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So the biggest compliment I can pay Kenny, as well as understanding players, knowing players, seeing good players, is that he did the exact same thing that Bill Shankly did. He kept the same coaches, Ronnie Moran, Roy Evans, they kept the same Liverpool philosophy. So Kenny's best trait was his ability to see good players and pick good players, even when they may not think that themselves. Because when I came to Liverpool, I came from a club, Watford, which played a long ball game, whereas Liverpool doesn't. So how am I going to fit into what Liverpool did? But he saw something in me that I didn't know I had in myself. So that was Kenny's biggest strength, knowing good players and knowing how to put them into a team to be organized. So yeah, but he was just brought up in Liverpool's tradition to still do the same thing that Bill Shankly did.
Wow, I won't lie to you, I actually didn't really know that. That is actually something quite interesting. I mean, it just goes to show that philosophy has always kept through. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's and like you're saying, it was a really, really great philosophy. But also, how did you and the team, especially after you guys won? I mean, you won the very last, League One title.
Mm.
How did you guys, after that, keep pushing yourselves year in, year in to try and get that title back?
This is what I say to my children. How do you treat triumph and disaster? How do you treat success? If you say to someone, what is your ambition? Like Pele, and he says, my ambition is to win the World Cup. He won the World Cup when he was 17. Does that mean he's fulfilled his ambition, so therefore he just retires? No, it has to be the repetition of success. So how do you keep that hunger, that drive, that determination, that focus to do it again and again? Is after you've done it, forget about it. So my first experience when we won the league in my first year, I came in after the game and expected a huge celebration. Running around, the coach had the winners medals, and because it's South Africa, I'll be fairly topical, in a Pick and Pay bag. Yeah, the winners medals in a Pick and Pay bag, and all he said was preseason training July the 13th. We didn't make a song and dance about it and get carried away, because if we did, the season would have started and we've been running around thinking, oh, we're the champions. We're playing matches and we're the champions because we've done so well and we forgot to win matches. So to keep that hunger, you've done it, forget about it, move on. Now that's an easy attitude to have when you've won. What about when you've lost? Now you remember 1989 against Arsenal, we lost last game of the season, last minute of the season. How devastated are we going to be? We came in, run them around once again, losers medals in the Pick and Pay bag, and all he said was preseason training July the 13th. We didn't wallow in self-pity and despair, or else we would never have raised ourselves up to win the league as we did the following year, because we'd have been just so disappointed that we'd have started the season thinking we should have won last year and we would have forgot to play. So the way you treat triumph and success and disaster is exactly the same. You work with integrity, honesty, authenticity, and if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Which is what Jurgen Klopp does. Because now, if you win today and Man City win, like when we finished second on 97 points, you can't be disappointed because we got 97 points. We had a fantastic season. So the way we play, when we win, we win. When we lose, we lose, as long as we play with intensity, determination, and with the right attitude. And that is how we have maintained the success over years and years, by forgetting about it when we've done it. And if we've lost, we move on.
I love that. I wish, honestly, I'll take that, as I might not be the soccer player or coaching soccer, but one thing I will...
It's nothing to do with soccer, it's to do with life. When
that is true. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's a life lesson. I mean,
so you know what? We could lose the league and we could lose against Real Madrid and we'd be disappointed. But look at the journey we've been on in winning all the time, and the happiness that brought. So that's why, you have to be realistic in terms of your expectations, and it's been a tremendous journey.
No, I love that, and I'm going to actually take that to heart. I won't lie to you. I'm going to ask you a difficult question. You've scored over 100 goals. If you could choose one, which was the most memorable goal you scored? Well,
once again, if you're speaking to Ian Rush and John Aldridge, they would say they're all their 300 goals, because you only get one goal no matter how good it is. So, of course, the goal I scored against Brazil was fantastic. My favorite goal for QP was against Queen's Park Rangers in my first year, where I ran from the halfway line. But would I give that one goal up to score 100 goals that comes in off my backside or off my knee? Yes, I would. So it's great when you look at individual games and individual goals, but it's more about how many goals you score. But to answer your question, my favorite goal was the one against Queen's Park Rangers.
And by the way, you can actually see that goal on YouTube. If anybody Googles it, just Google John Barnes versus QPR.
1988.
There we go. Out of all the trophies that you've won, which one did you find the most important to you?
The most important from I came to Liverpool, that any Liverpool player will tell you, is the league championship. Not the Champions League, not the FA Cup, because you can be lucky to win the league, the FA Cup. You can be lucky to win the Champions League. AC Milan against us when we're 3-0 down. We never played well, but we won. You cannot be lucky to win the league. The best team wins the league. Over 38 games, the best team wins the league. And of course, you can win the European Cup, the Champions League, by playing against Porto, playing against, Lucerne. You can be lucky in cup matches. So Liverpool said the league at the start of the season is the most important thing. Anything else is a bonus. So when people talk about the Champions League, yes, it's great, but the most important thing is the league.
Love it. I couldn't agree more, by the way. For me, that exactly what you just said. 38 games. I mean, it's not 5-6 games that you're playing in a cup or something.
Yeah,
well said. Now I'm going to ask you about something which not many people know. You were at one point the Jamaican national soccer team coach, manager. Was that very different? I mean, if you compare that to, say, being at LFC, you know, managing a team, how
Well,
different
ultimately,
was that?
I mean, the pressure and the attention is different. But what is it about? Trying to win matches of football for 90 minutes. It's not about playing in front of 5,000 or 100,000, because the 90 minutes on the pitch with your team is what it's all about. So you're trying to organize them. And why it was a fantastic period. We never lost one game. We had 14 games. We won 11, drew 3. And we played against Mexico. We played against Panama. We played against, you know, El Salvador, better teams than us. But my thing, very much like in Africa, because they're very athletic, they're very skillful, and if they're organized and disciplined, we can be successful, as we've seen with Ghana and Nigeria and some of the African teams. So my thing was, as much as it's Jamaica, can you look at Usain Bolt and look at a lot of Jamaican athletes, and they're very athletic and they're very good footballers. So the organization and the discipline was all I concentrated on, not their ability, because like in South Africa, you look at, you know, Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates and, you know, Mamelodi Sundowns, they've got great players. But if you get them organized, get them disciplined, then they can be successful. And that is why I was very pleased with my 14 games there. I only had 14 games for 1 year, because once again, as you know, in South Africa, politics plays a big part in football. So from a political point
Well
of view,
said.
it wasn't particularly nice. And that's why I didn't continue. But in terms of organizing the team to compete against anybody, I really enjoyed it.
Did you, by any chance, I mean, you know, we've spoken about quite a bit of your history and now obviously the Jamaican part, but did you have a plan for life after football, or was it pretty much, I'm going to see what happens? And
Of course, yeah, absolutely. My plan for life after football was to live, because that's real life. Football for the 15, 20 years is not real life. You're cocooned, you are pampered, you're privileged. I know that's not real life. That's a footballer's life. Now, when you're not playing football anymore, you're a normal human being who's got to look after his kids. You've got to go to pick and pay to go shopping. You've got to go to the supermarket. You know, you've got to be a normal person. Now, I was a normal person when I played. I never got caught up in the fact that I've always separated what I am and who I am. What I was a footballer. When I was a footballer, that wasn't who I was. Who I was a husband, a father, a friend, an enemy, a colleague, a normal person. And they never crossed over. I never bought into the fact that John Barnes, superstar, the fans love you. That is who you are. That is not who I am. Who I am, because don't forget, football is for 90 minutes on a once a week, twice a week. And then when you train a few hours a day, what do you do for the rest of the time? You have to be a friend, a husband, you go to the shops, you're a normal person. So the transition for me was easy, because I knew once I finished playing football, I would just continue being a normal person, because I was a normal person when I played. We can't help the way fans see us as superstars or celebrities, but we can help the way we see ourselves. And I never saw myself as different to anybody. So as much as fans may look at me and say, yeah, you're John Barnes, you're a superstar, I never saw myself that way. For the 90 minutes on the pitch, I may feel that I'm a footballer, so I'm doing what I do. And, you know, when I'm training, but for the rest of the time, a lot of footballers find it hard to transition, because they believe the hype that they are loved by everybody and they're superstars. And then when they're not playing anymore, they're not superstars and nobody loves them. And all of a sudden they go, I can't believe it. What's happened? Whereas I never had that problem since I was 17 years old. So it was a very easy thing for me just to become a normal human being.
John, I've never, I won't lie to you, I've never ever heard a footballer actually say it the way you did. And you just said it so well.
People in South Africa know that, because they saw me walking around Randburg and Houghton and walking around. I used to go to Boyson's, walk around Boyson's. I used to go to Master Antonio's like a normal person and talk to people. Yeah. That's what normal people do.
Yeah, trust me, there was when you were here in South Africa, trust me, we saw a lot of pictures of you going around to normal restaurants and everything. And we were like, no, man, that can't be John Barnes. Are you sure? That's a Photoshop.
And that's why you talk about a celebrity culture in South Africa. Now I see them all on the fashion pages in the magazines and stuff. That's not who I was. No.
Nah, great stuff. John, I'm gonna obviously, I know you're obviously prepping also for the Liverpool game tonight, Southampton versus Liverpool. So what I'm gonna do is sorry.
I'm at the stadium right now. I'm actually in the kitchen in a little room, because all the press stuff, that you got Jan Molby and you got Adam Lallana is here and Paul Walsh, all the old players. So I needed a quiet room to come and do this. So they put me in one of the kitchens in a nice quiet room. So you can, sorry, I should actually take you outside to see the atmosphere, shouldn't I? With the computer.
Wow, no. That's just going to make every single person, including myself, jealous as can be on this call. If you're going to go and show us that, we're just going to be jealous. But what I do want to talk about is let's talk about Liverpool. You know, all things Liverpool. Was probably one of the best games I enjoyed. It was the amazing roller coaster ride this weekend. What is your thoughts on this weekend's game?
Well, first of all, I have to go back to Liverpool versus Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. 0-0, we won on penalties. That was one of the best games of football I saw this year. You know, when you speak to Americans and they say it's a 0-0 draw, and they say it must have been boring, because of course in Americans you need score, you need basketball, baseball, lots of scores. That was the best 0-0 draw I've seen. Best 0-0 draw. This wasn't as good as that, but it was still an exciting game. Chelsea had lots of chances, we had chances. But when it came to penalties, I was very confident in us winning, because our fans support our players so much that our players don't feel under pressure to score. Meaning that if we miss and we lose, because we play with such determination and integrity and humility, that our fans forgive us as long as we give 100% effort and commitment. And that is why I'm confident in us rather than other players, because other teams, their fans put them under so much pressure and accuse them of not trying or not giving 100% that they feel more pressure. So I think that first half, we were the better team, particularly in the first 20 minutes. Second half, first 15 minutes, we were fortunate because Chelsea had a few opportunities. And then the game, but it was still an attacking game. You know, you look at 0-0, you think it's a boring game. I have to say it wasn't as good as the Carabao Cup, but nevertheless, it was still an exciting time. And of course, I felt sorry for anybody who loses on penalties. I mean, I was in the World Cup and Ghana lost on penalties, and we know what that was like. But I'm glad it wasn't us who lost on penalties. So it was a very entertaining game.
Yeah, look, I have to agree with you. I mean, I watched that game. I mean, we watched the entire game. I mean, you know, I was pulling out my hair at one point, literally the little that I have left. But it really was a roller coaster ride. That first 20 minutes, I just couldn't understand how, you know, the ball just didn't go into the net. It was the most incredible thing. I mean, in South Africa, you know the saying, we talk about
the first 10 minutes in the second half, we were pleased the ball didn't go into the net because they had 2 or 3 chances in the first 10 minutes. Yeah. But that's football. I mean, when Andy Robertson hit the post right in the last 5 minutes, it was going to be one of those days whereby, and you know, when things like that happen, you know, when we create more chances and we don't score, you kind of think the opposition are going to win. But with this Liverpool team, even when we play and things aren't going our way, we still believe that we're going to win. That's what really Jurgen Klopp has brought, a belief in the fans. And no matter how we're playing, lucky or unlucky, we're going to get the job done, and we have.
It's like they say, I'm so glad Jurgen is a Red. But yeah, I mean, you know, the thing is, there was, after the match, we saw all these things on Twitter and everything about how Jurgen was very different to, you know, Thomas Tuchel. And what you saw was Jurgen was going to each individual player, and he was speaking to each one about the penalty and where they want to be and whatever it is, and you know what position number they're going to take the penalty. And I just saw that, and I just thought to myself, that must be the most amazing thing ever as a player. And I mean, I don't know what's your opinion on it as a player, but
no,
to have a manager.
A manager has to be himself. Look at Carlo Ancelotti, how successful he is, and he's not like that. So it's not that Jurgen is better than Ancelotti or Tuchel. That's just who he is, and you have to be who you are. What you can't do as a manager is to be something you're not. So if that's not who you are, you can't then all of a sudden go with the players to try. As a manager in any industry, you have to manage in the way you manage. You can't pretend to be something you're not because you'll be found out. So therefore, if you're a type of manager, and Jurgen is like that, and Jurgen is very, you know, close to all of his players, whereas, you know, other managers wouldn't, but that doesn't mean that Jurgen's better, or he's just different, and that's who you are. And that's not to say that's why we won, because of course, after we missed the penalty, they could have won. So, you know, and it's not because Jurgen hugged him, which is why he scored. So I don't, similarly, if we had lost, maybe they're going to say, because I remember the World Cup final, when we lost on penalties to Germany, and you talk about, and this is an interesting story, when we lost to Bobby Robson, you know, and what you want when you get to a penalty shootout is you want to be relaxed. You don't want to be under pressure. Now,
exactly.
What the manager says to you is, listen, you've done so well, go out there, relax, take the penalty, and just, you know, it doesn't matter. You just relax and do your thing. Whereas against Germany, and because Bobby Robson, and we love Bobby, and Bobby's fantastic, but you have to know how to take each manager, and Bobby didn't mean it in this way. And if you don't know Bobby Robson, you may think, what a funny thing to say. He went up to Peter Beardsley just before he took his penalty against Germany, and he whispered in Peter's ear, and you think he's going to say to him about, just relax, Peter, you've had a great game, don't be nervous, just you go out there and just relax and take your penalty. He said to Peter Beardsley, whispered into his ear, and he said, Peter, there's 60 million people watching at home, don't let us down. Now, you know, you're going to go, hang on a second, that's not really what you want to hear. But because Peter knows Bobby, and Bobby doesn't mean it in that way, Bobby's old, he's getting on a bit, he's a bit senile, so you do it. You know, so the point I'm making is that it's up to the player once it gets to that. The manager can't make you score a penalty. But what helps in Liverpool players is that the fans are with them, and the fans won't boo you or be disappointed. Yes, they'll be disappointed, but they won't blame you if you miss. And that's what all players want, to be playing with freedom. Whereas you look at Everton, for example, and you see how passionate the crowd are, and the crowd are putting them under so much pressure that they're afraid to lose and they're afraid to do anything. Now, passion is okay, but you have to be controlled as well. So Jurgen has it right.
Now, listen, I mean, what you just said right now, I mean, that even answers the way this team has been going throughout this entire season. Liverpool, Tottenham, extreme. I mean, you're getting 70+% of possession, and you just can't get that second goal that you needed. But, after the game, I mean, I'm one of the biggest fans. I mean, and my son, I mean, we're both sitting there and we're looking at this game and we're all going, okay, you know what? It's not all doom and gloom. We move on to the next one. Let's try again.
Well, remember when Tottenham had a chance in the last 5 minutes to score the winner. Forget about 70%, as Chelsea did as well. So that's what we have to appreciate. When we have been a bit fortunate, but we believe that we've got through it. So we can't want it always in terms of thinking when we've missed opportunities that, because we've been fortunate in some games. And that's the good thing about this team. When Jurgen first came, and I'll say 3 years ago, we had to play well to win and outplay the opposition. Now, even when we play against teams, the 2-2 draw against Man City at home, one of the greatest games, they could have beaten us. But even when we don't play well, we still get a result. And that's the sign of champions. You can't always play well, but when you don't play well, can you get a result? And this is the difference between this team now and last year and the year before than when Jurgen first came. We had to play well to win. And you look at Arsenal against Newcastle. Arsenal play well, they win. They don't play well, they don't win. Most teams are like that. But even when we don't play well, we still get the result.
Very, very well said. I love it. So we literally have a repeat of the Champions League final from 1981. Now, when I spoke to Phil Thompson about it,
hang on a second. We've got a champion from 2018 as well, isn't it? A repeat?
Well, it's a repeat, but it's not in Paris.
Oh, you mean in the same place? All right, yeah. Okay.
Same place, same place. Two teams. I mean, this is like literally history all over again.
Apart from the players weren't even born, most of them, yeah? So that's when people want to look at it a repeat. Well, you know what we've got to do? Put Alan Kennedy on the pitch and play him at left back. He scored the win in 81. Bring him back. I was with him the other week. Listen. Forget about repeats. Forget about history. Forget about 81 when we beat them. Forget about when Mo got injured and they beat us. To then say this is the same game. We want revenge and we have to beat Real Madrid. No, we have to concentrate. And this is a game of football. What went on in the past means nothing. Even, when they beat us and Mo got injured and we think this is revenge. If you're going with that frame of mind, rather than thinking this is a new game, a new time, the past has nothing to do with it. No revenge, because revenge will probably end up with 9 men. You saw Everton, the way they played, they went out to 9 men. It's a completely new game. So when they were in Paris, they stayed in a little Ibis hotel, a cheap hotel. They probably had to get a bus to the thing. Now they're going to private plane in a nice hotel. This has got nothing to do with 1981. This is a new time, let me tell you.
I love the way you did that.
The players were out the night before drunk in 1981. These players aren't going to do that. So football has changed.
Yeah, especially when you have so many Muslim players on the team. Yeah, I don't think they're all going to be drinking or anything. No. So.
Or James Milner.
John, I have to ask you this here, but I mean, if you're looking forward to that game, who would you highlight as the most dangerous players for that game?
For who? Us or them?
Both sides.
Well, Benzema for them. Because, Karim Benzema, alongside Lewandowski, is the best number 9 in the world. Now, Mo scores goals, Mane scores goals, whoever scores goals first, but they're not a number 9. I'm talking about balls getting in the box. And no matter how badly Real Madrid are playing, once you have him, he can do something in the box, as he's shown in the last, not just the semi-final, but in the previous matches, that they played. So they're dangerous. I'd much rather play Real Madrid than Manchester City. I think that would have been a harder game, because I know that we will dominate possession in this game. We will probably have more possession than them, outplay them, not to say we're going to win, whereas Man City would have been a much harder proposition, I believe. So I'm happy, I'm glad, but they are also dangerous. So from their point of view, he's the one to watch out for. And from our point of view, the way we play as a team, Mo may be scoring goals, but then if you look at, Diaz and you look at Jota, you look at Mane. So therefore, I don't think we have any individual like him to then say, if you stop him, or if you stop Benzema, you've got a good chance of winning the match. But if you stop Mo, that doesn't mean that we're not going to win. Or if you stop Diaz, if you stop Jota. So we're a better all-round team. So I don't think you look at any of our individuals, but from their point of view, the individuals are Benzema. Interestingly, why they changed it, because they're very, if you look at their midfield, with Casemiro, Toni Kroos, and Modric, they're all in their 30s. They're all slow. And until they brought on those three players to give them that energy, they were going out to the cup. Now, are they going to start with those three in midfield, or they're going to start with those young players that they had on there, which I think would be harder for Liverpool, but I don't think they will. Still, they go back to the tried and tested, which I think will work in our favour if they start with those three old midfield players who won't be able to stop us getting at them. So, but they're an experienced team. Anything can happen, but keep Benzema quiet and we've got a chance.
Can I put you on the spot and say, what do you predict the scoreline? You don't have to answer it.
I remember working for Supersport, and they ask me that all the time, and I always say, I'll always predict a win, a loss, or a draw. As the scorelines, who knows what the score is going to be? But I will say a home win. And you know what that means, because I know we're playing in Paris, so who's at home? But you know when Liverpool play in Europe, there's only one home team. I said the same thing for the FA Cup. When they said, who's going to win the FA Cup? I said a home win. People thought I meant Chelsea because they're in London. But you know when Liverpool fans go, they take over. So every stadium is a home tie for Liverpool. So yeah, I think Liverpool will win. As to the score, who knows?
Very well said. I have to ask you this here before we just go take some questions from people watching. Please just tell me right now, okay? Is there anyone right now in this Liverpool team that has completely surpassed expectations? I mean, a player that you saw and just suddenly you just thought to yourself, wow, where this player's come from and where they are now. I mean, you know, all the players came in with good expectations and the likes, but somebody must have surpassed it.
Not all of them. And I'll tell you why, because when Fabinho came, I don't think that Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, Man United wanted him. When Mo came, nobody wanted Mo. Mane, these aren't. So what has happened is Jurgen Klopp has implemented a style to suit them, to show what they're actually doing. And if they leave to go to another club because they're now playing the way they do at Liverpool, they will not do it at another club because Liverpool's style suits them, as Gini Wijnaldum has found out. So if Mo goes to Barcelona, he won't score those goals. They will not play. The way Liverpool plays suits those players. So in terms of who surpassed, did we expect Trent Alexander to do what he's done in the last 2 years? Andy Robertson was at Hull. And when he came from Hull for his first 3 or 4 months, as did Fabinho, it's just the way we play. That's Jurgen's best. And I mentioned at the start, what did Kenny Dalglish good at? He saw a player who could fit into what he wanted the Liverpool to play. And that's what Jurgen does. So it is a sign, okay, who's the flavour of the month? Somebody scored lots of goals or playing well in midfield. Let's sign him because he's the best player if he doesn't fit into what he wants. Whereas he picks players. Who wanted Luis Diaz? I don't think people wanted Diaz necessarily. And if Diaz goes to another club, he won't do what he does at Liverpool because he suits Liverpool. So all of them has. I didn't expect Diaz to do as well. I didn't expect Jota to do as well, when he came. So I don't think there's any individual player. I think that, and that's the success of Jurgen in Liverpool.
Lovely. Okay, so we're going to go to some questions here from people out there. Reese Andrew is asking, if there was one player you could play with in the current Liverpool team, who would it be?
Well, I suppose the one player I would play with reminds me of, and particularly for me, where I played and who would help me the most and I could play with, would be Roberto Firmino. He reminds me of Peter Beardsley as a withdrawn centre forward. Because the reason Mane and Salah scores those goals is because he vacates that place and he plays in a way for them to score. We think if you sign Lewandowski will score 40 goals and Mo will score 30, Mane will score 30. That won't happen. Lewandowski will score 40 and Mo will score less and Mane will score less. And the way Firmino plays is the reason they score goals. So if I played with Firmino, I think that I would love to play with Robert. If I played with Mo, he'd score more goals than me and I have to create the chances for him. So it'd be great playing for him as well, or with Mane. But for me, to bring the best out of me, I think Roberto Firmino.
Okay, we've got Nadia Malik. I live in Kenya and started following Liverpool at 6 years of age. So Nadia, there's something I just want to say to that. In fact, a certain investor, Warren Buffett, once said that. He started investing at the age of 11 and he said, I started 11 years too late. So Nadia, you started 6 years too late supporting Liverpool, but we'll take your question. And you started, and they say that she says that she started supporting Liverpool because of Ian Rush and John Barnes. Always remained a Red, and my son also follows LFC like a diehard. Thanks, John, for what you have done for football. I think that's a brilliant compliment to you, and I won't lie to you. I've like I said to you even before we started this, it is just so amazing to have somebody like yourself. I mean, just to chat to you, and you've done incredible work for for football as a player, and even post then. So
Thank you
I
very
just
much.
also want to add to that and say thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, outside of football, this is from Himayan Daz, and I hope I'm pronouncing names right. I'm really bad at this. Outside football, which sports person you admire the most?
Well, I love Muhammad Ali, not just for his sporting prowess, for the message that he gave. You know, he was just a fantastic ambassador for Black people at a time when, you know, there wasn't that conversation to be had. And I admire a lot of sportsmen who give 100% in their craft. They don't have to be the best, but they give a lot of effort, a lot of commitment. And anybody who has Roger Federer, for example, Lewis Hamilton, anybody who has remained at the top for a long period of time, regardless of your talent, you have to have the right attitude, determination, commitment. So there are a lot of sportsmen I admire, not because they're necessarily the best, because they're naturally talented, because natural talent can only get you so far. So yeah, there are a few that I admire. There.
I'm just going to jump to this next question from a Mr. Kwezi, I think it is Kweza, sorry. He says, Mr. Barnes, do you think Liverpool deserve to win the Premier League this season? I mean,
if you win the Premier League, you deserve to win the Premier League. If Man City win the Premier League, they deserve to win the Premier League. You get what you deserve.
Also?
Not in cup matches necessarily. And in fact, you do. Because, you know, you're in a cup match, cup final, and you've had 20 shots, and you've hit the post 15 times. They have one shot, and they put it in the back of the net, and they don't have any possession, and you say, we deserve to win. You deserve to win if you score a goal, not if you hit the post 15 times. So in life, you get what you deserve. Even when you think you're unlucky, then no. You know what the name of the game is not to hit the post 15 times and to have 80% possession and to outplay the opposition, is to put the ball in the back of your net. And if you do that, people may say you're lucky, but you get what you deserve. So if we win the league, we deserve it. If we come second, that's where we deserve to come.
Okay, I've got one here from Jeff Farmer. He says, hi, John. Out of the current Liverpool team, what player or players would you choose to play with in the great 80s side that you were in?
Well, I mentioned one there already, Roberto Firmino, but is he going to play in head instead of Peter Beardsley or Ian Rush? But if talking about the two players I would like to, will say, not that the other players couldn't get into the team, but if I had to choose two, or choose players to get into the team to play with, the main one would be Virgil van Dijk alongside Alan Hansen. You know, because Van Dijk.
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, because you know what? It's interesting when people talk about the teams of the past, and I'll say this. The best 11 from 1974, 1978, 1981, 1984, my team in 89, and the team now. The best 11 are similar. What they have now is they have a best 20. Because when Liverpool won the league in 1984, they had 13 players. And if one or two of the players got injured, they have to put a youth team player in or players you've never heard of in. So therefore, you're not going to maintain that consistency because you haven't got 20 world-class players. But football has changed. So therefore, to compare the squad back then to the squad now is unfair because, of course, it's a much bigger squad now with all internationals. You didn't have that many great players at Liverpool because Liverpool was about a team and football was different. But what I would say is about any 11 would be comparable. But the two I would then mention for my team would be those two, Van Dijk and then also it'll have to be what rules are we playing? Because if we're playing the 1980s rules whereby, you know, we are allowed to hurt players, and players now. If I was a player now, I'd be the same. If I got touched, I'd be falling over. And if I broke my fingernail, I'd be out for 3 weeks, wouldn't I? I'd be injured if I broke my fingernail. Now, this is modern football. So I would always say, if we were to play against a team now, what rules are we playing? If we're playing the rules from the 80s, we would win. If they're playing rules from now, they would win. But any great player from any great era is the same. Let's talk about Dr. Kamala. You know, you're playing all then, and you look at the players in South Africa now, and you know, you can go back to Stanley Matthews. So any great player of any great era could do it now. But to answer your question, Van Dijk and Firmino would be my two.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to take the last one here because this will really and truly close it quite nicely. There's a gentleman by the name of Mark Daniels. His question, he says the following. Hi, John. I'm working at Aston Villa at the moment with good company. Gerrard, Coutinho, Ings, McAllister, and other Scousers. I hope you will give Gerrard a text to wish them well. You'll never walk alone.
Look,
we all know what we
need.
I
think Stephen needs more than me wishing him well. I think he needs another 3 or 4 players on the pitch. Man City are a fantastic team. And you know the most important thing? There's no point wishing Steven Gerrard well if we don't win tonight. And that's why we have to take care of what we can take care of. We're not in control of what they do. Now, if we win tonight, I can text Stephen and say, come on, Stephen, do us a favor. If we don't win tonight, it's pointless. So we will keep our fingers crossed. But you look at Man City after being 2-0 down against West Ham and coming back. You know, they're a great side as well, and you have to give credit where credit's due. But we live in hope.
There we go. Yeah, hope lies. If we win tonight, we win on Sunday, and Stephen can do us a favor there with his Aston Villa team. Yeah, I mean, we'll be very, very, very happy.
Yeah, but if Stephen does us a favor and then Wolves draw against us, it's pointless. So that's the point I'm making. We've got to think about ourselves first, and then anything after that's a bonus.
Lovely stuff. John, I know you've got to get to the game. You got to start prepping for that. So just to wrap up here very quickly, before I say thanks to you, I just want to let everyone watching here tonight, for those of you that have attended our webinar today, exciting news. You are all in the chance of winning a signed LFC t-shirt. That t-shirt is signed by current players, by the way. Sorry, unfortunately, John, he just didn't rock up to sign. So next
Can I interrupt you a second?
Yes.
It is the Liverpool football shirt, yes?
Sorry, Liverpool football shirt.
You know, a t-shirt is just a little Nike t-shirt that we wear. It is what you've got on there. It's a proper Liverpool kit. There you go. That's not a t-shirt. A t-shirt you wear on the beach.
The Liverpool kit with signatures on it.
Liverpool kit, yeah.
Yeah. We will be picking out the winner tomorrow, so look out for your emails, and it will be coming from us, and to let you know if you have one. You'll also be getting 7 tips to successful trading, which is a takeaway from ThinkMarkets. But most importantly, we're excited to announce that ThinkMarkets will be LFC's and your trading partner for next season. That's going to be a really nice thing, and we're going to be having a lot more interviews like these. So be sure to follow ThinkMarkets on Twitter, Instagram, and also on YouTube as well. So you can also see some really great videos and the likes, not just on trading, but also a few tips from LFC players and other legends as well. John Barnes, it has been an absolute pleasure. You have no idea how much this really means to me.
Pleasure's all
and I'm
mine.
sure to everyone else.
Listen, South Africa is my second home. Please don't tell the Jamaicans because they think it's Jamaica, but South Africa is my second home.
Listen, when you're in South Africa, please feel free to reach out to the ThinkMarkets team here in South Africa. We would love to take you out, spend some time, discuss everything football again. But please, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
Good luck to Liverpool for tonight. John Barnes, I hope you have a good night as well, and celebrating with all of us.
Thanks very much. All the best.
Thank you. Take care.